because y'all hear my voice all the time, and this is what it's always been for the past year and some change, for tonight I wanted to be something a little bit different, something more special. It sucks that on camera I had slides on. That is ratchet. But I wanted to bring up people that I love and care about, who I feel have a voice that can speak to you, who I trust to talk about things that you guys are going to deal with, or do deal with. I'm going to not introduce, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But we're going to go through a series of topics, questions for this first portion that we've picked out to decide to talk to you guys about, and let them kind of speak and impart into your lives. So we'll start on this end with these two wonderful, beautiful ladies here, and let them introduce themselves, and then we'll go this way. Cool, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Worthy. I'm 24 years old. I've been part of this church for about 2-3 years now, and I'm so excited to talk to you all.
Give it up for Wendy.
I'm Esmé, and y'all know who I am, some of y'all.
Girl, say it.
Well, I'm Esmé, and I'm really honored to be here to talk to y'all about whatever it is that God uses for me to talk to y'all about. So, thank y'all for coming, because I know they can be a struggle to come in.
Follow her on Instagram at Lord&Esmé.
Oh, on Instagram, Lord&Esmé. Lord&Esmé Beauty Products.
So I have
Plug your stuff, girl. Plug your stuff.
So I have 3 businesses and a YouTube channel, a YouTube ministry channel, which is Lord&Esmé. I talk a lot about my struggles. I'm very transparent on things that God reveals to me, which is things that most people don't like talking about. And I have a Lord&Esmé Prophetics, which is my shirt line, which I have like 4, how many styles do I have? Styles of shirts. I don't know, I have like 4 styles of shirts. And I also have a beauty salon. I recently moved to Bernie because the Lord finally sent me a husband, which is Jerry.
What up, Jerry?
I've been praying for 5 years, and God finally sent it to me. And I also just released a Lord&Esmé Beauty Lash line, which is after inspiring women in the Bible. So I am wearing the Ruth lash. So every eyelash, I brought some with me because I want to bless with some for y'all. And that's my latest one. So.
Not the boys, you ain't getting no lashes.
Dang it, man. You want to bless me with some love?
Jerry, you coming up here, Jerry? No. No? All right, Jerry, I love you, Jerry.
Yes, you are.
Nah. Jerry's gonna pop in and out. You feel me? He's gonna stay behind the camera.
Hi, this is my camera. No?
Oh, it doesn't have the thing in it. Did you put the thing in it?
You can turn it on.
Can y'all hear me?
That's mine. You got mine.
Oh, Soraya, I love you.
I love you more.
Hi, my name is Ale.
What up, Ale?
I'm old, so I can tell you my age.
Calm down.
I'll tell you this much: my kids are 27 and 24, so
You do
that
not
tells you
look
right there.
whatever age you were going to say.
I've been at Place for Life for probably about 18 months. I'm originally from New York, like you guys know. I've lived in San Antonio this time for 11 years, and I'm just honored to be here. I am a huge big kid at heart, so being around you guys, I think that's why I stay young, because I stay true to my youth.
Oh, terrible.
Hi, I'm Veronica, Lady Ronnie.
Lady Ronnie, what up?
Aaron and JJ's mom. You can call me mom if you want.
Everyone's calling you mom, too.
You mom tonight.
I am 46 years old. I have a 20-year-old daughter, Aaron, 12 and 9. I have multiple careers. Right now, I'm actually a software engineer for an IT company, and I do marketing. As my personal business, I do have 2 marketing businesses, one for real estate agents and one for people like Miss Esmé here. So we need to connect. I'm just excited to be here and answer any questions you guys have. And I also do a lot of inspiring for youth and women. And I have partnered with a good friend of mine who does Instagram also, and we do a lot of marketing for him, Mr. Big Smiles. So he's a very good man of God. Maybe I'll share some of his information later.
No, you go ahead. Okay. Testing.
My name is Will Leggett. I'm originally from upstate New York, Syracuse. I've been in the military 17 years. Next year I'll be 40 years old. kids. I have a wife. I have a grandbaby. Whatever y'all want to ask me, I've been through it. So, you know, I'm a PK kid, so I know the ins and outs of being a preacher kid. Like I shared with y'all in the group, I was a high school dropout. So whatever stories or any questions y'all want to ask me, I've been there, done that. So, like, for me to be where I'm at right now, I just consider it a blessing. So, yeah, that's pretty much me.
Jerry.
My name is Jerry Campos. I'm married to Esme. I work for the Burke County Fire Department, so if you see me in Apple Ranch or some maps out there, you see me in an ambulance, I'm out there, Eastern still on time. And I've always had a serving heart. When I got out of high school, I joined the Marine Corps, served 7 years in the Marine Corps. Got out and kind of figured this was my calling. I was still on the degree of man and kind of wasn't what I wanted to do, but kind of like that camaraderie for the military, so you know, the fire department is kind of something that provides that same time so there's everything that camaraderie. Any questions? Oh, I have 2 kids, yes. 15 and 6.
All right, that's the squad. Oh, what's up, Casey? I see you, brother. I might bring you up in a minute. Let you sit right there and relax. All right, so, and you know you're used to that. It's us's. All right, so we're gonna talk about us's. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about a few topics. The first one I wanna talk about is the development of faith. So I wanna ask my lovely panel here, incredible people, how did your relationship with God develop? And how is it that you found God in your walk of life? So I want to talk about the difference between how people grew up and how they found God and how the relationship grew because of the differences between them. So you can explain, if you want to, how you found God and explain that relationship in your faith walk. Anybody?
I can start.
Sweet.
So my testimony is, I grew up in a very violent household. My father was an alcoholic. Praise God, he's saved now and he's not in that life anymore. My mother was an immigrant, is an immigrant from Mexico. My brother and I, we have a younger brother, 12 years younger than I. We grew up defending the younger brother. There was always violence, always problems, always just horrible things happening at home. One day I picked up a book. I don't know where I got it from. I don't know who gave it to me. It was Outcry in the Barrio back in the late 80s, early 90s. I don't know when that was. Picked up this book, started reading it, and it was talking about salvation. I don't know where it came from, what it was. And from then on, I just knew that God was my salvation. God was my way to escape from what was going on at home. I could have escaped any other way. I could have done any other thing. But my go-to thing was I would go to the corner of the bathroom at my house and I would kneel and pray. No one in my home taught me to pray. This was just something that I knew had to happen. And thankfully, my parents were saved. I was actually saved in 1996. That was when I was 13 years old. I didn't know what salvation was. I just knew that this was the only thing I knew. But in 1996, my parents were already saved. I was fostering 2 boys, 13 at the time also, were going through struggles. And my parents said, you should bring them to church. We have a youth group. And I did, and thankfully those boys are now over 30. They're educated, they have degrees, and if it weren't for God, if it weren't for this type of camaraderie, this type of union that I'm seeing here, myself, my boys would not have survived probably. We would have probably gone a different direction. So stay friends, fellowship with each other. Whenever you see someone needing to talk, or you don't know what's going on at home. You don't know what situation we have at home. And in my case, it was violence, it was abuse, it was just, you know, horrible things going on at home. I've always been very social and fun and had a big smile on my face. Nobody knew what was going on. But thankfully, I did meet friends, you know, that would encourage me. And I'm just blessed to be here. Grateful.
I'll
guess-
go next.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I grew up in a devout Catholic household with my grandparents, and always saw my grandparents praying. Always, you know, they always spoke to us about God. But I always felt like there was a disconnect. It felt like I was doing a lot of things to get to Him. And from a very young age, I would ask questions, and it was, at that time, it was very disrespectful to ask adult type questions when you're a kid. You know, when you're a kid, you be a kid. You go outside, you play, but that wasn't good enough for me. And I just started like having conversations like we're having now, but it would be like in my room to the chair. I'd be like, God, do I really need this person, that person, this martyr, this saint, this and that? Can I just not talk to you? And he said, yes. I was young, I was probably like 7 or 8. And I spoke very well since I was very young. And I like poetry, writing, and stuff like that. And I started to journal around 7 or 8 years old. And I still talk to God that way. My connection to Him was just relationship, just like how we have relationships now. He's been my brother, my friend, my cousin, my uncle, my aunt. He's been everything. And it was just basic, just asking that question, do I need all that? Are you there? And He's just like, yeah, I'm here. And that's just been my walk ever since. It's been staggered. It's been kind of like Brother Will here, you know, I've been through it all. I dropped out of high school. I went back. I'm in school now again, getting my degree. I had my first child at 18. But I don't have any regrets because I feel like everything that I've been through, God has gotten me through it. And because I've had that relationship with Him, and I always, since I was 7 or 8, had been seeking Him in a place where I can have Him in that relationship with other people that look for Him in the same way. And 18 months later, I found Him right here with you guys.
So for me, I pretty much been in the boat that all of y'all are in. You know, I grew up in the church, went to church Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. My parents walked around rebuking stuff, you know, praying, speaking in tongues. I was in the choir, I was in the praise and worship team. I tried to play the drums, I got fired from that. So like when I talk about church, I was deeply rooted in the church. My home life was pretty stable. I mean, we talk about, we ain't getting deep, but you know, like I said, we was taught to pray over everything. It was a problem to pray. But for me, I had a lot of questions, especially when I got around the age of like 15. And I was just influenced by my environment. So like in my environment, I was the only kid who had a father on the street. So all my friends obviously didn't have fathers. So, and then my older brothers were so much older than me. Like my oldest brother, he graduated high school when I was in 2nd grade. And then my second older brother graduated when I was like in 6th grade. So all I had was me and my three sisters, you know, and I ain't really like hanging around girls like that. So I just found male mentorship beyond my father with guys on the street. So when I got 15, I had an argument with my dad. So I just wanted to tell y'all what it was. He asked me, hey, why weren't you in that church? I said, I was chilling. He was like, well, in this house we go to church. And I was like, well, I don't even know if I believe that anymore. You know, he was like, well, if you don't believe it, you can't, you know, basically be here. So around that time, I was staying with my best friend. I wasn't in the house, in and out the house, sleeping pretty much homeless, sleeping at different friends' house, my cousin's house sometimes, my best friend's house. And I was just ripping and running. And then, I'm gonna just be honest with y'all, one time, I was ripping and running on the streets, smoking, drinking. I was in the car with my friends, we was freestyling, you know, rapping and stuff like that. And I was high, I was super high. And I just heard God calling me. And I just, like in the middle of it, I'm like, yo, y'all ever thought about Jesus? And I was like, yo, my man stopped the tape player like, yo, like, you serious right now? Like, you talking about Jesus? I was like, no, man, I've been thinking about Jesus, man. He's like, one of my boys, you know, you always got different friends while you partaking. And one, he's like, word, you know, I'm feeling that, bro. Like, what you talk, what about Jesus? I was like, I don't know. My mom said, like, if you call on his name, we can be saved. So I was like, y'all want to call on his name? I'm like, I feel like I need to be saved right now.
Wow.
So we did it. Called on his name. Wasn't perfect after that. Like a couple months later, I went to jail. But you know, like God used that situation to change my life. Cause I went to jail. I had to spend some time in jail. I was on probation, didn't go to probation. So they was trying to lock me up for like a year and a half. And I had to go to court. And this is how God worked. By that time, I was dedicating my life more to the Lord. And I remember I wanted to go into the military. I first tried to go to the Army, but then they found out I had a warrant for my arrest, so they didn't let me in. And so then when I finally went to my court date, the judge just asked me to come up, and he's just like, hey, I don't know, it's something about you, but he was like, I'm gonna give you a chance, you know. And he was like, I'm gonna drop this felony, and I'm just gonna plead guilty to a misdemeanor violation, and then you can't leave New York State. So I was like, all right, cool, you know. And I didn't really see it was God at that time, but then then I realized like God opened this door. The next thing you know, I started doing ministry. I was doing gospel rap. Gospel rap turned into me doing actual ministry, like preaching. And then when I joined the military, like the gospel rap and all that stuff just took off. So I know that the moral of the story is I've been where y'all at. Where y'all sometimes y'all sit there and y'all young, and I've been there, and the influence and the pressures of life will make you want to question God. And we live in a godless society that will try to make you question, like, why are you serving God? You can just be a good person. You know, you can just do this and do that. There's nothing wrong with having questions, and you can go to God with those questions. Because that's what I did. I went to God with questions. I used to be reading I used to be talking to God in prayer about, yo, God, you're a God of love, but the Old Testament is real ratchet. When I read it, I was like, I don't know if you just recalling all the history of the Old Testament. I was like, them people was pretty ratchet, guy, you know. I said, but when I read it, I'm like, God, you're so merciful, you know, like, 'cause I know if I was God, like, strike. So, you know, like, I just share my story because I know where you've been at, like, coming to church and just having to do it a lot. You know, I think about the mirror. I fade up. As soon as she said, like, I got a mandatory Bible study class, I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember that. Like, mandatory, you got to read these chapters. But at the end of the day, things like this will help y'all become stronger and better people and believers, you know. And your life might not be perfect after this, but I'll tell you what, you're going to remember this day. And you're going to remember that, you know, you had these panel of people dropping knowledge about their life, and you're going to pull on it. And I'm going to tell you something, no matter what you go through, no matter what hell the devil try to put you through, God will always be there through the thick and thin. So that's pretty much what all I say.
So I didn't say my age. I'm 37, and I do have 2 kids that I think y'all they've been here, Esme and Noah. Please pray for us. I will say that. So I grew up in church, Catholic, when I was younger, a little bit younger, because my grandparents would like drag me. And then I think when I turned like 15, my mom told my grandma like that I didn't have to go anymore, because I said that I didn't want to go. So I kind of just stopped going, and because I was always like the outside kind of person, I would dress different, plastic, short hair, just different colors. I realized now that like I was crying out for like, I didn't have a relationship with my father. I was raised with a single mother that didn't go to church, basically did whatever she wanted and let me do whatever I wanted because she wanted to give me the freedom that she never had. So I had a lot of freedom, which even at having freedom, I would run away from home. I didn't want to know nothing about God. I kind of resented the fact that my grandparents loved God because I would see all the other neighbors partying and just having fun, and I was like, why is my family so boring? But as I grew older, I dropped out of school at, I wanna say like 16, I think I dropped out of school. I never went back, I dropped out in 9th grade. I was pretty wild. I got pregnant at 18 with my daughter Esme, and that's when I really, like, I went back to my grandparents' house to live with them, cause, her father, we were together like on and off, and I really like just dug in God's word because, I don't know, I guess I just felt like I belonged, and ever since then I just would go to church. I would still go out and drink and do all sorts of bad stuff. I never really got into like heavy drugs. I did try them, but I was too afraid of them. Thank God. And drinking, yes, I would drink like binge drinking, which is where you drink like not every day, but when you do, you kind of do it a lot. And I realized why I would drink so much was because I was running from God. I didn't want to hear Him. I didn't want to hear that inner voice that was like, you shouldn't be doing that. You're gonna get yourself in trouble. I did like that. I got pregnant again. My baby's dad, the same gentleman, got incarcerated when I was pregnant with Noah, which my son is 16. And I was a single mother going like to the jail to visit his father, which I remember always saying that's not gonna be me. However, I started seeking God so much during that time because I didn't know how to raise my kids, and I know that the way my mom raised me, I didn't want to raise them like that. So from that time, I was always in and out with God, all the way up until I guess well now I'm 37. But I think when I was about, I want to say like 21, I really wanted to like just, I don't know, I really wanted to know about God. So I've always wanted to learn. I went to cosmetology school when I was, I want to say, I forget how old I am. So around like 27 or 26, I went to cosmetology school, and I really like just was all about God. I was about encouraging people. I was really focused in school. I had like perfect attendance. I never really cared about regular school, like education, because I guess I'm a creative, artsy person, which I understand that now. And I just knew that everything that I would do in cosmetology, I wanted to dedicate it to God. So when I graduated from school, cosmetology school, I opened a salon, which I named Lord&Esmé, which birthed all these other businesses that the Lord has laid for me to share. I've always been very bold. I've never been like apologetic about God. I thank God that I have the courage and the strength that I do to just speak on Him. And being a cosmetologist, you're kind of like a therapist, and you're kind of like everything. You're kind of like a mother to everybody. And I realized that everybody that would sit in my chair, it wasn't so much that they needed like a new creation in their hair or their makeup, it was they needed a difference. So that's where I realized that my purpose and my calling was to get people delivered and just, I guess everything that I went through, because I went through a lot. I was sexually molested by like 6 family members. My mom's boyfriends would make me very uncomfortable. Just, I've been through a lot, and yes, whatever it is you've been through, I've probably been there. I realized that the reason why I went through so much, and even till today, I go through a lot, it's because of the anointing that I have. And I know that when you have a big calling on your life, your trials and tribulations are going to be way bigger than the average person because your calling that way. And what I'm learning right now is that the greater the trial, the greater the reward. So every time you're elevated, you just kind of see like some devils that are like, what? But I'm thankful that because of it, I seek and I really hunger for God. So the businesses that I've birthed, I really thank God that He's entrusted me with them. Because everything that I like write out on goals and stuff, it's crazy because God gives it to me in reverse. It's like most people go to college or they get a business degree. I'm a 9th grade dropout, and I'm not very good at math. But for some reason, the only way I've been good at business is because I love to serve. And I believe that I'm a solution, which everybody is a solution. We're not problems, we're not conflicts, we're solutions. And that's basically it. My children are 16 and 18 now. My daughter just graduated. I prayed for my husband, which 5 years, was delivered, thank you Jesus. And I prayed for 5 years to move to Bernie, which I live in Bernie now. And I'm very big on vision boards, and I'm very big on, there's a Habakkuk 2:2, which is God calls us to make it visible, whatever it is that your heart desires, and I believe that when you look at something, you know, it helps you make decisions to get close to it. And I believe that the desires of our hearts, God puts them there because ultimately they're His desires for our life. And He has to deliver them and back them up. And the reason why I named my business is everything Lord&Esmé is because I will be a household name in the name of Jesus, is because God is my provider, He's my everything, as you said, He's my business, He's my king, He's my everything. So everything is always Lord&Esmé. Prophetic is because He's given me the gift of prophetic word. The beauty industry is, I live by Psalm Solomon 4:7, which is everybody is altogether beautiful. There's no flaw in the eyes of Christ. And everything else that I've created and what's to come is because it's been prophetic. God has really just called me and He's trusted me with so much, which is crazy. I'm just thankful for it. And even for today, I wanted to tell you, Rodney, thank you so much, because right now you know that I'm walking through the valley of the shadow of death, but to be here puts a smile on my face, and I thank you and I'm honored. So if you ever need anyone, as she said, I'm on Instagram, thank you. Please reach out to me because I'm here to pray for you, to serve as God guides me to. So God bless you. Hello. I'm getting kind of nervous now.
Nah, girl, talk your talk, girl.
So I'm originally from Mexico. That's where I was born, and I was separated from my mom for about 3 years. She came to the United States just to look for a better life. She didn't know the language, she didn't have social security, she didn't have anything, and she was able to make a life for herself. So I always look up to her because I was brought here too, and if she was able to do so much with so little, I am so blessed to have the opportunity to do so much more with my life as well. So, growing up in Mexico, everybody's Catholic there, you know. So I would go to church with my cousins and whatnot. I always knew about God, but I never knew God or had a relationship with God. And it was always just kind of there, like I would go to the church, you kneel down, you rise up, you sing the songs, and that was it. Like I felt like it was just kind of like a routine. It wasn't so much like out of my heart, like I want to worship and I want to know God in a deeper level. So while I was separated from my mom, I was just with my dad and my older sister. It was a very hard time because I was a young girl. I wasn't sure how life was supposed to be. Like I try not to recall too much of those memories, but it was a hard time. So me coming over here, it was even harder because it was a cultural shock for me. The language barrier, I didn't know how life was here, and we're just so privileged to live here, honestly. Coming from a different country, but overall, when I came here, I was just really lost. Like I didn't really believe in God. I didn't believe in anything. I was pretty much like an atheist. Like I didn't understand anything. So nobody really taught me too much about God. And later on, I was just very frustrated with God because of how my life was playing out. I was like, why can't I just be like a normal person, like live with my parents, go to school, and that's it, you know? Like a lot of people just take that for granted, but I wish I just had that. And I don't want to get emotional, but anyways, so I went through that, and then later on, when I was in school, when I was like trying to make new friends, things like that, people were friendly. Like I'm so glad that nobody was really like mean to me. Like, you know, the new girl that doesn't speak English, like who is she? I always kind of felt like an outsider, but I was able to just kind of like get the hang of stuff and be able to make some friends overall. And later on, my mom, she had a boyfriend and then they got married, and then he ended up passing away from cancer. And that really just kind of like broke me even more because I just kind of felt alone. Like I didn't have my friends here. I didn't have any family at all. Just me and my mom and the little people that I was really friends with. So just throughout that, once he passed away, that's really when God started calling me a lot more. And there was this lady that I just really believe that she's an angel. Like I don't even think she's human. And she started bringing me to church, and she was like, oh, like, just come here, like, come with me to church, and come with me to church, and she would always buy me food afterwards. So that's when I
You
would
were
go there.
motivated.
Yeah, I was motivated. But from there, I just started going to church and just going to church, and then that's when I started to really like worship and praise. And the moment for me where I was just really immediately like just so drawn to God was I was there and I was praising and I was just crying and I felt so alone. I was like, I don't have anybody here. Like why do I have to live this life? And kind of in a way, I was just questioning it. And I honestly just felt like somebody was like holding my hand and telling me like you're not alone. And from there, like that's when like things like literally just changed for me because I felt God like so differently from everything that I was dealing with, and to have the moment to tell me like you're not alone. Like there is someone here that cares for you. So it just really changed me from there. And after that, I started getting more into God. I started like realizing more stuff. And overall, I kind of get sidetracked, but overall, I realized the power of God and how life can be so much more greater if you follow God. Like He is the creator of the universe. He's the creator of everything. And for Him to bring me to a different country and me having to go through everything that I got through, I know because there's a purpose in my life. And now as I'm growing up and as I'm working my way up, I realize so many blessings that He's given me and so many doors that He's opened for me, and I'm also proud of the beauty industry. So yes, so just with little things like that, like after I graduated from cosmetology school, I just started doing hair shows. Like I would just go, like even though like I didn't really know anyone, I had just graduated from school, like I was just trying to help out. But I was able to get in really big hair shows with a lot of big brands, and from there I just started realizing that He had something for me, which is within the beauty industry, and that's really like what my passion is. But overall, like I wasn't really learning God. My stepdad had passed away. I started going to church, and God just spoke to me, and He told me that I wasn't alone. And up to this day, like sometimes I do feel alone because I don't have family here. And as a Mexican, we're so close to your family.
You have family
Where are
now.
your family?
You have family.
See, and this is the whole point because coming to church and being at a church, it brings me a family. So even though I may not speak to everybody or something that may be a little bit distant, like I'm still so grateful that I have people like y'all around. So I'm thankful, super thankful to be here.
Oh, let's go, Jerry.
So when I was younger, I mean, like she was saying, everybody said here that as a Hispanic family, my grandparents, they would go to Catholic church. And I always thought that it was weird that right next to the Catholic church, there was like this hall and people would go over there, like they come over here to pray, and then they go there and go drink. It was just the weirdest thing for me, the weirdest concept. And so, I mean, my mom, she would do that too. She showed me that I kind of didn't really have a relationship with God. I was like, all right, if I do anything, I go to church, turn on the candle, vela, and pray, and I'm good. So that's kind of how I grew up. Then eventually I would see my mom and my stepdad and everybody get into arguments, big old fights, big old mess, and I just hated waking up Saturday mornings and seeing that. I just wanted to get up, go outside, go over to my friend's house or whatever, because I mean that was just kind of the environment I grew up in. Eventually my aunts decided to bring my mom to a church, and it was a Christian church. And I remember my aunt saying like, it's not a church, it's not a denomination, it's a relationship with God. And I was confused. I was like, all right, well, what's the difference? So I started to go when I was about y'all's age, and it was like Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Sundays.
Oh, man, you went to one of them churches?
We'll go
Shout
all
out
the
to Jerry.
time. And they were long too,
My
like
boy.
3, 4 hours. Like she knows because eventually her family is part of that church that I was going to. So that's something else though. So I was always in church and I liked it. I was in these youth groups like y'all, and we didn't do these things, but we still talked and we had class, and it was kind of fun to learn a different perspective of God at that point from a Catholic church, like praying to Saint Jude or whatever it was that I was turning on the calendar. I went to that church for a long time, and I took her one time when I was about y'all's age. I took her with me. 14, 15, I took her with me because I knew her from middle school.
met when we were 12 or 13.
Man,
Jerry
man.
was the first guy to talk to me.
Shout out to you, Jerry.
14.
Oh, 14. I don't know. I was
Fact check, fact check.
Middle school age, very middle school age.
middle school.
Yeah, I would go to that church and I loved it. And then after high school, I joined the military and I went away and I kind of backslid. I was like, I'm gonna do me now. I'm gonna put myself first like that. And I would do a lot of stuff. I would drink and party and all that stuff. And I never really looked back at God, even though I know I had a relationship. And I always felt that calling like every time I do stuff. Like there's other stuff. I mean, when people cuss around me, it kind of get weird by it. When people cuss, there's other stuff that I just knew it was God that put it in my heart. Like, these things are wrong, so step up and say something.
That's good.
And as a kid or whatever, a teenager, you just kind of didn't want to say anything because you didn't want to be outcasted or be like, hey, that kid, Jesus freak or whatever. So I wouldn't say stuff, but as I got older and I came back to San Antonio and got the military, my mom still had me to church and my stepdad was too, and so I would go to church with them and I liked it, I loved it because it was Southside. And I just began my relationship with God, and then my mom ended up getting sick. She passed away, and I got mad at God. I was like, my mom was, she loved church. She was always at church. She was, all the time, all the church, they would ask, where your mom at? She's at church. And my real father, who wasn't even in church, was a heavy drinker, drank from sun up to sundown, was completely healthy. And for my mom to pass away, I was mad at God. I was like, how are you gonna take my mom? She gave her all to you, and this guy doesn't do it. And my mom passed away of non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver. So she didn't drink, he drank, he stayed alive, she passed away, so I was mad. And I kind of wanted to pull away from that, and I kind of slowly did. And time passed, and then I ended up reconnecting with Esme. And I was going through some stuff at my mom's house, and my stepdad had these Bibles, and he was all like, I said, do you have any of my mom's Bibles? And he was like, yeah, there's a couple over there. Or no, I don't have any. I have one of your mom's Bibles, but I'm gonna keep it, but there's a couple over there. You can just go grab one of those. And I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna just take this one. And I took that Bible, and I remember leaving my stepdad's at my mom's house, and I started opening it, and my mom used to journal, and she used to write everything. God would tell her, I would talk to her, she would write notes, and it was a journal. So they didn't realize, my dad didn't realize that Bible was my mom's actual first Bible that her mom had gave her. And a crazy story in that Bible back, as I was reading it, my mom had put Jerry came to church with his friend, parentheses, wife, her name.
Wow.
And I read that and I was shocked because my mom had always been praying for me, and she's always praying for me even though she's not here, saying God using her as a vessel to get to me and get to her and make us word today. Little did I know that she did.
You weren't going to church.
I wasn't going to church. I was just,
When I reached out to him, he was lost.
but little did I know, all that kind of God using my mom to get us, and little did I know that she'd been praying for us and forever on. She said she would go, when she was married before, she would see firemen and she would go pray for them. They thank you for your service. And that's what I've been doing, and she didn't even know that. So whatever desires in your heart, whatever you feel that's there, God really works. You may not understand it right now. You may think what everybody else on the outside is doing, what you want to do. It's not always greener. God has a plan for everybody. That's His revelation. God has a plan for you.
And we were under the same roof of church, and we didn't know it. Yeah. So you might be around your husband.
That's a thing.
You hold that. I'm gonna say this. So before we go to the next topic, so the Bible says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing." The fact is, female, like all girls here, you are a wife. You're not a wife when He finds you. You're already a wife because God called you to be that. You don't become a wife until He marries you. So don't think about or worry about who's going to marry you or when you're going to be a wife, because God already called you to be that. It's already part of your DNA. Just worry about being the wife that you're supposed to be when He finds you.
And be obedient, because he told me, I don't know how many times he was my husband, and I was like, nah. It took 2 years of him being my friend and whatever other stuff that we got into. But yeah, I didn't want to believe it. And then God was like, no, he's your husband. I'm trying to
Facts.
tell you.
Facts.
I literally just read something about that
Yeah.
That's weird.
Okay, Rachel was a wife, not because Jacob found her. Rachel was a wife when Jacob was waiting 7 years for her, and then when he waited the extra 7 years for her, she was already a wife. Jacob just had to put a ring on it, and even then it wasn't a ring. He just had to consummate it. But we ain't gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, way too deep. But just know, girls are already a wife, but he has to find you.
So don't act like a girlfriend.
Yeah. Don't give anyone.
I never let girlfriend, boyfriend. I was like, I'm like 30. I don't like titles. I didn't like titles. So I was like, I'm gonna have a friend, and he's gonna be my husband. That's
Facts.
it. My girlfriend.
So
And dudes,
don't act like a girlfriend.
yeah, and dudes, you guys are husbands when you find a wife, but you're already a husband now. But you need to prepare yourself for when you become the husband, if that makes sense as well.
And if they love God, let them love him. But if he's not surrendered and submitted,
Facts.
keep it moving. 'Cause
Facts.
everybody says they love him, and so you're surrendered, then he's not listening to God. Because what I told him was I was crazy, and the only way you can love me is if you love God, because God made me a little crazy. So everybody's crazy. You just have to pick which crazy you want to do.
Facts. Okay.
That was
I love
good,
that.
guys.
That was good.
You gotta
Okay.
be like, ask Jesus. If he says yes, then I'm yours.
Amen to
That's what
that.
I said.
Amen to that. Okay. So next one, we're talking about idols. Now, this is super deep. We're gonna keep it super light. I ain't gonna step on this forever because we can go on this for years. So who knows what an idol is? And I don't just mean like the statues. So for y'all who don't know, if we start talking and get super deep into like Old Testament idols, like Baal and all that happened in Egypt, when the Israelites came out of Egypt, what happened is they started making other gods for them to worship. They were actually images, but what it is any idol is anything that takes the place of God in your life. So it could be social media, it could be your significant other, it could be makeup, it could be whatever you decide to put over God is an idol. What I want to ask y'all, and it ain't got to be everybody, it could be like one person or two, maybe, because we can talk about this for years, is how do idols affect you? And what are the main idols that affect them now?
I would say for teenagers, the biggest idol, and I could think even from when I was growing up in the 90s, it's the people around you, kind of like to Will, the people that are not in this type of nucleus. The people that you go to school with that you're not seeing, that you see more often than you see the people around here. It can be very difficult to not distance yourself, but you assimilate to what you're around more, right? Because you don't go to church every single day. You don't go to a Christian school. You pretty much go to public school, what have you. So well, yeah, I mean, there are exceptions, but for the most part, right, you are almost like you kind of hide that part of yourself because you don't want to be the awkward kid. You don't want to be, you want to fit in. At this time, you're learning who you are, and you're learning kind of how to separate yourself from your parents. You're starting to have your own identity. You're starting to have your own concepts of how the world works and how you understand things. You're much more observant of what's going on in the world and stuff, and you have questions, right? So those things, you kind of start to separate yourself, and you look at things differently, and you start to open your world up a little bit more because your parents are not around you, right? When you're a little kid, your parents are like constantly helicopter, right? I was a helicopter mom, so I'll tell you from facts. But once my kids got like to middle school and they were much more independent and stuff like that, my kids started to grow and learn about more things, and it separated us. And then it was like I didn't know my kid anymore because I knew this child, but I didn't know this young adult. And then there was things that like I would go in their room and stuff, and I'd find stuff, and I'd be like, when did this come about? So I think an idol can be anything. Like I could tell you, sometimes I'll be on my phone and I'm looking at different sneaker apps, and I'm looking at, I'm like, Lord, deliver me from these sneakers, these kicks,
You don't need to be delivered.
these
from.
souls.
Let them be delivered to me.
Yeah, exactly. So what I learned is it could be anything, and when you start to feel that you become, and I don't want to say obsessed, but low-key obsessed, when you start, when that's the first thing, that's the thing that you wake up to, go to sleep to, because that's God's position. When you wake up, you're supposed to give him the glory. When you go to bed, you're supposed to thank him for everything that you've been through. But when something takes place of that, or you shorten the time with him in that moment, that's your idol. If you like, I'm hungry, but you don't give praise to God first, that food is your idol. So it's a very fine line. It's what becomes habitual in your mind and your actions that follow.
Hey, that was good. We are talking about idols, but I know that God is a jealous God, so you have to be very, very careful.
This is fact.
Amen.
Come on. Anybody else?
Also-
Go ahead, boo.
Also,
So something that I experienced not too long ago was I realized in my partner. So at first, like I didn't really realize that I was like, okay, I'm going to church Wednesday, Sunday. I know that I'm praying every day. I know my relationship with God. I know that I'm becoming a much stronger woman of God. And being in a relationship, it kind of like took away from that more than I needed to. So I know you all are young. I know you all kind of want to feel love, kind of want to feel the affection and whatnot. But really, like, be careful who you allow yourself and who you give your presence, your spirit, and your energy to.
Speak on it.
Amen.
Speak on it.
Because that was really like dictating your life. Like I was with this guy, and from him, like I was kind of like I would admire him. You know, like I was happy to be with him. Like he had a good job, he was stable, he was treating me really
He
nice.
was fine. Say it.
He wasn't. I don't know where he lives, but you know, like I was like, okay, this is like a great guy. You know, like if I'm gonna be with anybody, like I'd rather be with him. So from there, like, it started very small, you know, like, he was also, like, kind of, like, praising me in a way and whatnot, and honestly, like, that made me feel good as a woman, you know, we all kind of want to feel that, right? So from there, overall, later on, I just started realizing how much he was trying to, like, manipulate me, and also by being unequally yoked, that's a
Sweet.
horrible mistake that
Yes.
I made because I knew what I wanted, I knew what I believed in, I knew what my vision of my future is, and it involves God, 100%. Like, I want to raise my kids for them to go to church, for them to have a relationship with God, because I realized the benefits of being with God instead of being with the world. And from there, I just pretty much realized that I was idolizing him way too much, and he wasn't idolizing me. So from there, I was just kind of feeling like, well, where's my love? You know, like, it's a whole different problem.
If
But
somebody you care about is going to inhibit you from doing what you love, i.e. go to church, praise God and stuff, if they try to, those people ain't for you.
that's so true. And that's like what I realized, that he was taking me so much away from God. He was taking me away from my passion, from the things that I like. Even just like my simple hobbies, like I wanted to go to the park and he wanted to do something else. Like I was with somebody that wasn't appreciating or just respecting who I was.
Wasn't
Yeah.
reciprocating.
And that too, so I realized your significant other, that is very dangerous, because at the end of the day, you know, he wanted to marry me, I wanted to marry him, and we're not. We could have been in a whole different culture, with a whole different everything. Like I realized that my whole life was gonna have to change. I was gonna have to change my religion, even my name, and everything else. So God, and that's another thing. Like I asked God, like, is he really the one or not? And sometimes things will tell me, yeah, like he's the one that kind of likes to treat you, like he can be a provider, like he can really take care of you. And that's because of that, I really started like idolizing him, because that's a quality that I look for in a husband. Like I want somebody that's gonna be able to be a provider. And from there, I asked God, like, tell me, like, is he really the one or not? And when I was in church praising him, God told me so many times, like, he's not the one. Let go of that relationship and let go of that. And I was a little bit stubborn with that. But it was me making him like an idol to me, and it was hard to let go. I created a soul tie with him too, and once you create those, they're not easy
They're hard to
let go.
break.
Yes, they really are. So be wise,
Yes.
and don't let love take you away from the true love from God.
Amen to that.
I wanted to say something about, so if you have to sin to get it, you're gonna have to sin to keep it. So
Amen.
I would say, yes, what you're saying about opening, like, who you allow access to, and that was the thing that God needs for me to share
sure. It's like what you eat, what you hear, and what you see. Whatever you look at and you eat, it's like that's the same thing that your body's gonna crave. So if you don't feed yourself the word of God, you're not gonna be focused on that. And whatever you're built on eternally, that's like go after the God things and God will provide them for you. But if you step outside of God to get whatever it is that you want, then you're not. Like I always told my children that if 1 Corinthians, what is it, love is? I said when you can replace a man or a woman's name with love is, then that's someone you want to keep as a friend, and then so on and so on. But after, like, you have to be very careful what you feed yourself and what you see, because like when you're, like you said, you fasted, no one's ever fasted. Like the first thing I always want is like fast food, junk food. But then like God tells me like, what's the point of fasting? You're gonna go eat that, and that's not healthy for your body. So it's the same thing. Whoever you hang around with, you become.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna do one more topic. This is gonna be a good one. And we'll take a break. And then we'll let you guys ask questions, because I want to hear y'all's questions and let these guys answer them. So the next one we're gonna talk about is mental health and your self-esteem as it relates to the church, the biblical way we talk about it. I know y'all might as well leave now, because I'm all the way in your house right now. I'm all the way in your DMs at the moment. So, when it comes to your mental health in the church, or how we respond to mental health, the issue with that comes with the church doesn't normally deal with it.
They don't believe.
I won't say that they don't believe. The thing about it is the 3 ways that the church will deal with mental health is usually 3 dominating categories. We treat it exclusively as a spiritual issue, which is a problem. Because if it's just spiritual issue, that means it doesn't really manifest itself in real time. It's like ways we ignore it completely. Everybody knows that. Your parents won't deal with it, the church won't deal with it when you talk about it from the pulpit. That's just what it is. And then the 3rd way is that we treat it as just a medical issue. So it's either spiritual, it's medical, or we just don't talk about it. The problem with that is it takes away from the fact that it's scriptural that mental issues happen, because even Jesus dealt with them. Because when Lazarus died, his soul cried. Like he literally couldn't deal. He broke down, and that's one part of the reason why he couldn't immediately go see Lazarus. More than just a miracle, because he had to wait for the miracle to happen, but his soul longed and cried out for Lazarus because he died, because they were so close. The issue with your mental health is there is no issue, because you have a mind, God gave it to you. Whatever mental health issue you have is a part of God's plan for you. So don't ever deny it, don't ever minimize yourself and say, oh, I have a problem, I have self-esteem issues, maybe it's a chemical imbalance. That's BS, it's real. I'm the first to tell you, not only because I've had to deal with it firsthand with my wife, but it's a true thing. And you guys are up against so much that affects your mind and your mental health and your self-esteem, that anxiety, depression, all that is so real, and it impacts you guys as a generation more than any generation before. And now you guys are saying, no, this is real, and you have to deal with it because I need help. It's not wrong to love and trust Jesus, but also see your therapist. 100%. I need everyone to get that. If I understand completely if you have these mental health issues, and I identify with that, but Jesus is here for you to pray, and he's here to change your life around, and he's here to be everything you need him to be. But your therapist is also there because God put him in your life, or her. 100%.
I was reading on the way over here about depression.
Yeah.
I really never had to battle that, and right now I'm like, oh crap, I think I have a little bit of
100%.
depression.
It's a thing, and there's plenty of people who are depressed in the Bible. There's plenty of people who went through anxiety in the Bible. It's a thing. David went through anxiety. It talks about it all through Psalms. He was afraid for his life, rightfully so. Saul was trying to kill him. What are you supposed to do? I'm hiding in a cave. But he dealt with it in the right way, but he had people around him to say, no, you were anointed to be this, and God is going to take care of you, but bro, we have to talk. You have to get this out. The thing about David is he got it out emotionally, but he said it out loud, and he cried out to God for help, and God helped him. So you need to know that your help is going to come, but if you're not going to seek the help that's already there for you, then you're pretty much telling God, I know you're going to help me, but I don't want to use your help. Sorry.
God cannot bless what he curses. You have to communicate, like he needs
Facts.
to talk.
So, and I'm gonna give you guys a couple points and I'm gonna let them talk. So, number one, therapy is not demonic at all. Go see a therapist, go talk to somebody. Get out of your own
Reach
head.
out.
Staying in your own head is putting yourself in a box and is literally creating chaos, like mental chaos, because you're trying to figure out a way out, but you put yourself in purgatory mentally. So if you're gonna continue to do the same thing and think the same thoughts and think you're gonna figure it out, it's wrong, and I don't want you to do that. I do not want you to stay there. That's not healthy, and I will not be here, and I will not sit here and allow you to do that to yourself, because I'd rather help and be the person you talk to and find someone to talk to than allow yourself to put yourself in a mental prison. That's number one. I'm sorry, this is tough for me. Shout out my wife, I love her. Second, seeing a therapist is not anti-Christian. There's no such thing as that. Because if you can go see a doctor because you broke your arm, you should be able to go see a doctor because you're mentally broken. And also, those who suffer from mental health problems are not a failure. Your mental health problems do not make you a failure. You still succeed because of it. You will still succeed after it. There was something that I read from a guy named Thomas Merton. He said the beginning of love is to let those that we love be perfectly themselves and not to twist them to fit to our own image. How does that work when it comes to your mental health? Just because you deal with it, you're still wonderfully and perfectly made because your mind works that way. I'm still gonna love you even if you're stressed out. I'm still gonna love you even if you have anxiety out the wazoo and you don't know how to do anything. I'm still gonna love you through your depression. You're gonna get past your depression, and I'm still going to love you because that's how God made you. It's not, your mental health is not the destination, and that's not your end all be all. It's a moment in life you have to go through, and it's a storm that you're gonna get past, because you're either going into a storm, in the storm, or out of the storm. So if your mental health is a storm, then we're gonna get through it. If you're gonna have to deal with it again, that's fine, but afterwards, it's always a calm after the storm, and God is in you, and is there with you before, during, and after the storm. There's a blessing in the storm, so there's a blessing in your depression. There's a blessing in the storm, so there's a blessing in your anxiety. There's a blessing in the storm, so there's a blessing in your self-esteem issues. There's a blessing in the storm, so there is a blessing in whatever you have to go through that's giving you mental trauma and your PTSD, whatever the case may be. I do not want you to leave here afraid because you are dealing with something in your mind that you can't understand or you can't verbalize. So if it's a problem for you, we need to figure it out, but God's there with us, but you are also going to get through it because we are going to find every tool necessary to get you the healing that you deserve and that the healing God has for you. You can snap, you can clap, or whatever it is, I don't care. Because right now, I know that each of you are dealing with a mental health issue that you don't want to talk about. I deal with them, I've got past them. It's not as much as you think it is, because a smile is just a facade and a defense mechanism when it's not real. Because if you're going through something and you're dealing with school and Zoom meetings and these stupid teachers with stank breath and these stupid math that you can't get past, you're dealing with things because you're sitting at home. You're dealing with things because you're seeing things in your eye gates that you can't understand and it's hard to process. You're dealing with things in your mind because there's issues at your home, but you don't know how to process them because no one wants to talk to you because you're just a kid. You're not just a child, you're a human being who has a mind and has a thoughts. You guys are at the age right now where you perceive everything and you internalize everything, and you're supposed to be able to, what we parents say, deal with it, but you can't deal with it because we don't give you the tools, because we are too set in our ways to think that you are supposed to be able to get over it. Society makes you think that you're grown, but you're not. You don't have the freedoms and liberties to do what adults can do and to go do stuff on your own because you have to sign a waiver, your parents have to do it for you, but we're supposed to be the ones who help and guide you, but we don't guide you. A lot of times, adults will put you in that box of where you're close to being it, but we still want to restrict you and hold the leash on you because you're our child. The problem with that is because you have all these problems, and we have put it in a place where there's a separation and a schism that we don't want to deal with your problems unless they directly affect us. But the problem is that whatever you're going through directly affects us, we just don't want to deal with it. So the problem is that when you're sitting on your phone, you're trying to find all the help you can get, and you want to come to us, and y'all can come to me anytime, but you want to come to your parent or anyone who's in the leadership position in your life and thinking that they're going to give you an answer or thinking they're going to help you cope and figure it out, but then you go and it's like, shut up, you're a kid. I don't want to deal with that. That's not real. Anxiety or depression, you better depress these dishes. Like, that's what happens. Like, I'm sorry, like, this is real. Like, Mom, I'm going through something. I think I have depression. And they're like, what you mean depression? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even have a job. You don't even, yeah.
Come on, come on.
So,
I'll tell you what, but I'm gonna say this from the parent's perspective, and this is what I used to tell my kids, and if they were here, they would tell you, I'm human first. I'm not perfect. But what I would tell you is, because both my daughter, when she was in high school, she used to drink, she used to cut herself, and I didn't know anything. And I will tell you what, my daughter was persistent, and she got through to me. And my daughter is one of my best friends to this day. Like, let me tell you, before anybody else, my daughter. But it's not that we don't care, it's not that we don't want to deal, it's that we also have those depressions, we also have those anxieties. And what we're trying to do is show you a brave face so that way you can be brave. But there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with having feelings, emotions, anxieties, depressions and stuff. It does not make you weak. It makes you strong. And don't ever let anybody tell you that it makes you weak. Because you know how hard it is to wake up every single day not having a sense of purpose, not having a sense of belonging, don't knowing who you are? But God does. And that's why I said before, if you put him first, the first thing in the morning, if you give it to him, if you give it to him, if you give it to him, I promise you, it is not gonna go away. I go to therapy, I've been in therapy for years. It doesn't go away, but you know what? You know how to deal with it. You know how to cope with it. You know how to understand what your triggers are. You learn to be persistent, to talk to people that are gonna listen to you. And if you literally, we learned this in business. You have to learn to manage up, down, and sideways. And sometimes as a teenager, you're gonna have to manage your parents. You're gonna, like they say to you, look at me. You're gonna have to say, Mom, look at me. High key, no cap.
okay.
I'm struggling. I'm struggling. I need you to hear me. I need you to see me. I need you to feel me. I need you to put all that aside. I need help right now. Because if you don't do that, you're gonna blow up inside. You're gonna implode. And implode is, think about it, right? Explode comes out.
Or suppression,
Yeah,
creates suppression.
yeah. So you have to find a way. And you know what? If anybody out there is struggling with anything, you can come to any one of us. I will leave my phone number here. You guys could text me. I'm on all socials. You could talk to me, whatever, because I've been in your shoes, and I have children that have been in your shoes, and my children are older, and my kids are still struggling. I will never turn my back on anybody because I deal with it myself. So I'm telling you from experience, I don't think anybody on this panel is talking to you from a place that they don't know. Have you heard any a PK kid? Have any of our stories, our testimonies been perfect? We've all traveled difficult roads, valleys, streams, everything. And you know what's one thing that we all have in common? That God still loves us.
One thing
So it
I
don't
want to
matter.
say, I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt. One thing I want to say as a parent of, teenagers and an adult now, we don't know. You gotta tell us. If you're struggling with something, and my children, speaking to y'all too, if you're struggling with something, if you don't understand something, if you have a question, I don't know. We don't know. As your parents, we don't know. Why? Because mommy has a full-time job, a full-time career. She has 2 businesses. She's in the ministry. She's doing all this. She's taking you to football. She's taking you to, do all this stuff. And we don't know.
Question. So what happens when I tell you, and this is for y'all, what happens when I tell you I'm struggling and I still don't get a response out of you? You see what I'm saying? So this is just personal. I hope y'all can relate to this. So what if I'm going through heartache? Like I get cheated on, and this is my testimony. I'm sorry, y'all pray for me. So what if I get cheated on?
Thank God you wasn't my son, because my son could tell you what I would do.
Yeah, my mom didn't do that. So what if I get cheated on? I'm literally dealing with anxiety and heartbreak, and I don't know how to cope with it, and I'm literally crying out to you like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that to me. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to feel. I feel like I'm about to die, blah, 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 blah. Right? What if I tell you that and there's no adequate response besides, oh, it'll be okay? Because it'll be okay as a blanket. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I tell you something's going to be okay, that doesn't help anyone out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So for me, everybody's talking about it, but I actually experienced it. I experienced heartache. I experienced trauma that I didn't deal with. You know, I experienced that it's only spiritual side of it. So like, I didn't know that we was gonna talk about this. So when I was talking about my parents, both of them came from a lot of trauma. So my mom, she seen her father murdered in front of her. He was shot and killed. And then my dad, he came from the Jim Crow law down south era. So I was dealing with two deep dynamics when it came to mental health in the home. My mom would have mental health, she would have outbursts, screaming, yelling, sometimes lock herself in the car with a knife, acting like she's gonna harm herself. Now you gotta remember my parents were Christian people, church people. And then my dad was very quiet and stoic. He didn't really respond to a lot. So as I was coming up, you know, I had some trauma, dealt with some stuff. I was in a similar situation to Ronnie before I met my wife. And I went through a bad breakup, and I was kind of like considered the rock of the family, where everybody was pretty much dumping on me, dumping their emotions, dumping their feelings. So after I went through that relationship, I just remember like it was something simple. Like I was in Dover, I was supposed to pay my electrical bill, but I was sending money to the wrong place, and then the lady told me she couldn't help me because I had cash on me, and I remember I went home and I snapped. And then like the next thing I know, police came to my apartment, kicked down the door, because I snapped, but I sent out a text and told everybody I couldn't take it no more. Police came to my apartment, kicked down the door. I was in a blue suit, and I spent 30 days in the mental facility. I was 8 days inpatient, and then I had to come from like 8 in the morning to 4 p.m. every day. And I'm telling y'all, I didn't think I had any type of mental health issues, but then when I was there, it was an eye opener. You know, thank God he used me. I didn't have to take no medicine or anything. He used me so much that when people were sending me Bibles and books, I was actually passing it out to the patients. And then when we was having our little talks, I started to be the facilitator in the group. But I'm telling y'all, listen, me being a man, you know, we are taught to hold in our mental health and emotional issues, but I couldn't hold them in no more. And all this happened after a relationship. You know, I got my Marine brother over there. He could tell you who've been on deployments. This all happened when I came back from Afghanistan also, you know. So this was my 4th or 5th deployment I've been on. And I talked to somebody to this day. I got an appointment Monday. I talked to a mental health specialist to this day. And I'm telling y'all, if there's something going on, it's all right to talk about it. Because sometimes we go through trauma and different things that we just don't want to share. All right, and I was holding in. Like one of them that I didn't tell my family till later. I was molested when I was a kid, and as a man, I felt shame. I was like, how can, even though I was a little kid, I felt that shame. And what I'm saying is sometimes you're gonna go through trauma, and you just can't spiritualize it. You use both of them. You know, you use the word of God, but you use the therapist. And something, if you feel that Satan can use that if you don't address it. And that's what I'm saying. He can use that as a weapon against you.
That's good.
And you're not alone. And I know some of y'all probably ain't feeling this way. Some of y'all are feeling this way. I dealt with depression. I dealt with anxiety. I got diagnosed with PTSD. You know, these is real things that happen in people's life, but y'all can conquer them. I'm telling y'all, because like, I never thought that I would end up in a mental facility. I never thought that would be me. And I remember when I was just laying in the bed, because I felt like I hit rock bottom. And God told me Psalms 46:10. If I'm right, that says, be still and know that I'm God.
Yes, sir.
And
We all have PTSD, is what I learned, because well, being a hairstylist, I kind of like PTSD too. But it's PTSD is what triggers you. We all have that, whether it's a fear, you could watch a scary movie, or you could have been like just scared in your life. Anything that would have scared you is gonna cause you to trigger and act with PTSD. It's just everybody has different another thing, that if you go see a therapist or a doctor, please make sure that they're founded in Christ. Because there's so many doctors right now that are just trying to medicate everybody, and, I don't trust doctors, I don't trust anyone.
That's true.
God puts it in there that's like, okay.
Yeah. I was gonna actually make that comment, I'm glad you said that, Esme, because there are therapists out there that are rooted in Christ. There's actually, right here in
Some
our,
workers saving, so
yeah, so you gotta be careful. Wellsprings, I think it's called Wellsprings of Life or something like that. It's on Grissom, like by Bandera and stuff. That's where I've been going for the last 2 years. And what's great is that my therapist is a Christ follower, military brat. He's PhD'd. I mean, he's a doctor of psychology. He works with children. He works with all ages, adults and stuff like that. And what I like about JD is that we can pray. We can talk about triggers, we can talk about anxieties, we can talk about acceptance, rejection, because believe it or not, as adults, we still have those feelings of rejection. We still, everything that you guys go through as young adults, all we are is adults. They just took off the young, because you're a kid once and you're an adult forever. So everything that you guys are going through, we go through it. The difference is sometimes us as parents, what blocks us from identifying and being at your level is all of the social and worldly responsibilities that stops us from being truly present in the time of need. Because we also have that need, and we're not attending to it. Most of us are not. So how can we, if we're not confronting what we're going through, how are we supposed to help you confront? So it starts with us. And if you want to make a difference, just like anything else, you have to be the lead in change, right? You have to be the one that stands apart. Like now, not a lot of your friends maybe don't come to church, don't believe the way that you believe. Set yourself apart, because I'm telling you, when you do and you stand for that, God's gonna use that to, to Esme's point, God's not gonna allow you to stay there. And what I learned, and I just learned this now as an adult, the devil doesn't use anything against you that is not already in you.
Yep, that's good.
So, God, like right now, like if social media, if you're not a big social media person, the devil ain't gonna use that against you. But if you're always on your phone and all that stuff, guess what? He knows where to get you, and he's patient.
What you value.
It's what you value, absolutely. Even as us as adults, like I realized it. I saw a friend. I saw this friend succumb to addiction. Because why? That was her thing. I've never been that type. I don't have an addictive personality. I have willpower. I have, but she would ask me, she's like, why me and not you? And I'm like, because that's not what the devil uses against me. I have my own devils. So mine is the mind. I'm a crazy overthinker. I will go to bed at night and I will replay this whole entire scenario. Could I have said this different? Could I have done this? Could I have seen this thing in need for this person? God, why didn't I do this? Or why didn't I pray for that person? Why didn't I go up and hug them? I saw them sad. That's how the devil used me. Because you ain't good enough. Because you ain't nothing. Because you think you this, you think you that. You ain't nothing. You're garbage. You come from the hood. You come from the projects. He uses all those things, and then it's like I have to fight at night to tell him no, nope, 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 nope. And that's why I say, if you give it God in the beginning of your day and the end of your day, the enemy's still gonna attack you, he's still gonna trigger you, but guess what? You have the ultimate weapon. You have your surrender, right, in God, and you give your obedience and you give your love to him, and he's gonna take care of it. It ain't gonna be easy, but he's gonna do it. And I've come into church, I've backslid, I've come in, I've been angry, I've been all of that. But I'll tell you what, when God really loves you, and if you really give him the opportunity, all those things will get lighter. Like I can be happy and I can be sad, but I'm always content.
That's good.
What I want to say, Bruce, real quick. God made us perfect. We are perfect. He made us all different. So you don't have a disability. You have the ability to do something different.
That's good.
To do everything different. In order for you to learn how to do it differently, you have to let someone know that you're struggling with that. Because there are experts, there are your parents, there are people that have already struggled with it. that can help you get through that situation. So always remember, it's not a disability, it's the ability to do things differently.
That's good.
I'd like to say one more thing, because many of you won't even know there's something wrong with you, because I was one of those people, and I still try to tell my mom, which with my kids, it made me a helicopter mom, but not only that, just reading their reactions and everything. But make a journal. I'm one that like talks a lot, and I ask questions. Like if I'm sad, I want to know why I'm sad. I want to know why I'm happy. And I have journals that I put why I'm happy, why I'm sad, and I go back. But it's very important for you to have a journal. If you don't know what you're feeling, you know you can recognize if you're sad or happy. So even if you just write it, today I'm sad, and why, and I'm happy, why. But that has been a big thing to help me and to help my children kind of figure out what's wrong. Because most times you don't even know if there's something wrong with you. Me as a parent, I pray for wisdom because I know a lot of times kids don't say there's something wrong because they don't know. So I read my children, like I really like study them and I educate myself a lot, like for real. I don't have one degree, but if you come to me, I could probably figure out what's wrong with you. But I seriously think that it's wisdom from God. So as parents and even as children, I just ask y'all when you pray, ask God to give you knowledge and wisdom beyond your years of age, because that has been the one thing that helps me pray for people and kind of advise them as to where or how to get deliverance. I'm not a therapist, however, God anointed me in that area, that's why I think I do so much. But it's important for you to make make a diary, make a journal, and even as parents, it's very important for us to prioritize the children. Our first ministry is at home, so there should be no excuse in that area, because that's one thing that if I run my businesses, but I still am on top of my children, it's no excuse as a parent. So your parents should somehow lead your actions, because kids do not talk, they do not say when there's something wrong. So that's something that the Lord really revealed to me a long time ago. But at the same time, it won't, like, you still go through things that you didn't think you were going to go through.
All right, I'm gonna drop y'all with 2 more nuggets, and then we gonna close this out and let y'all eat or something. I know y'all mad hungry, except America. She had Chick-fil-A and didn't bring nobody in. I ain't gonna be mad, but whatever. So, Ollie brought up a point about the devil and how he works against you. The thing about the devil is the devil can't be everywhere at once. He's not omnipresent like God. So the thing that the devil does is he can only be in one place at one time. So he can't affect you unless you open the door for him to. What he has to do is he has to set up traps for you like a hunter, because he prowls around like a roaring lion. So he's going to tell you when he's coming because he's stupid, but he's going to set a trap for you to run into. So the reason why he jumps on the things that you're passionate about and the things that you give all your focus to is because you've given him enough time to create the plan. So if you are focused, and I'll take Josiah because he lives with me because he's my stationary son. Josiah enjoys his music. Josiah enjoys really any physical activity. He loves his girlfriend, and he loves sports, right? So if we talk about things of this nature, so the things that are going to impact him are the things he gives his attention to. So anything that happens with ROTC, anything that happens in music, anything that happens with his girlfriend is going to take precedence over everything else. So if the devil's going to set anything up, it's going to have to affect Tati, it's going to have to affect the Lakers, or it's going to have to be something in his favorite rap song. So like if something happens to like Trippie Redd or something. Or if something happens for him at ROTC, it's going to throw him off, because the devil knows I can get you if your coach says something stupid to you. I can get you if you mess up at ROTC, because it's going to shake you up and rattle you in a way that you're going to allow me to get into your mind. And then once I have your mind and you're not going to say anything to anyone, then I know I have you trapped, and then you're going to break down. We had a moment, and I'm not going to go deep into it, but we had a moment because he's a corps commander for his ROTC detachment or whatever. So he is dealing with so much because he's in a new position. It's what he's passionate about. He has literally devoted 3 years to ROTC at Brennan, so his focus is there. The problem is when he has an off day and his coach is being less than exemplary as a coach, and it breaks him down because he is so focused on being a good leader and to be the best that he can be. So when the slip off happens and the drop off happens and it builds up, he bottles it up and internalizes it. When he internalizes it and doesn't get it out, then we have a moment where me and him have to go toe to toe as whatever we want to call this situation. And we have to blow up. But the problem is it was my fault for not knowing the signals and the cues to help him out. So the devil got him in his mind, the devil comes into my house, and then I have to cast the devil out of my house. The problem with that is that instead of us being like, bro, I'm sick of my coach, we need to talk, we need to pray, I didn't pray over him at this moment, so then we have this. The devil knows how to get to us because I get super busy, he gets super busy in his mind, and then now we have a disconnect. The devil can only set up a trap where you allow him to and where you give him the space. So if you close the door when you see the signs, because the devil's stupid, he literally
Cheat sheet.
like if you think about everything you've ever dealt with, any issues like where the devil's coming to your life, it's literally a progression. Right? Like it's not like I just popped up. Oops, you never noticed it. It's literally like like your mom, you had an issue with your parent, your mom or whatever. She said something crazy and you was like, she's stupid, she don't know what she's talking about. And she says it again, and it's like she don't know how to talk, she don't know who she is. Then you know it's coming. Most of us are just act off emotion and impulse. It's not emotion or impulse, it's literally an attack of the enemy. My mom and dad, a teacher, that one boy in my DMs thinking he cute or whatever. Could be anything, but be prepared for it. Also, so everyone knows why you were created, right? Like you know why God created humans. Like are we all deep in our theology in our age? No. All right. The reason why you were created, you literally took the place of the devil or Lucifer. Let me not call him the devil. You were literally created as Lucifer 2.0 because when Lucifer fell, there was no more the most beautiful angel. You know, Lucifer had everything in his body to worship God better than everything else. The angels were just there, right? Like they just followed Kirk Franklin in heaven, right? Right, Casey? Right? So let's put it so y'all understand it. So Lucifer was Kirk Franklin, DJ Khaled, Fred Hammond, Kurt Carr, Chris Brown from Elevation. Any other gospel artist. He was all of them. He could do no wrong, right? The reason why he fell, he got the big head. He was like, y'all should praise me. I made these fire songs and this fire beat. That's my song. I'm sorry. So he did that. He fell. God struck him down with a third of the angels, right? He was like, well, what am I going to do? You know what? I'm going to create humans in my image to do the same thing. That's why we have hands that can make claps. We have the windpipes in our throats that sing. We can do everything the devil could do, but we also have free will. So he also gave us that. So it's also one more thing that he added to us is the mind of our own. Angels don't have minds of their own. They just worship when they're supposed to worship. They praise when they're supposed to praise. And it's like, all right, cool. He's going to mull around here with the wings. Just march on feet. And then it's like, oh, it's time to praise. Yes. Right? Like that's literally what angels do. They just look at them like, all right, we're just going to sit here. Oh, God came through. Right? And then they go back. That's it. So, y'all gonna come back. Like, I'm trying to give y'all like a little line. Y'all can remember this. So, what happened with the fall of man? So when Adam ate the apple, make sure we got that right. So when Adam ate the apple, Eve shouldn't have done it either. But when you ate, let me remember back. So God gave Adam and Eve a decision. It was like you could eat from the tree of knowledge or the tree of life, right? Either you choose life or you choose knowledge. I'm gonna make it super simple. Life in God or knowledge of God. They were like, knowledge of everything God has. Sign me up. God literally gave them a B answer and they chose the wrong answer. Like, you can't be that dumb. Shout out Adam and Eve. So, in fact, so what it is God was pretty much saying, either you trust me completely or you don't. Tree of life, you don't. Tree of life, you do. Tree of knowledge, you don't. Because if you want to know everything, you can't trust me because I already know everything. So they decided, well, let's know everything anyway. This apple is fire, though. But God, we know you've done all this. Like, without you, I wouldn't be here. I can't blame Adam, you know what I'm saying? I understand being around somebody fine. I'm trying to make it easy for y'all to understand. So what happens is when we fell, our nature changed. When sin came in, it changed the nature of humankind. The problem is humans, so Adam, all he did was to live, to serve and worship God, just like an angel, but with free will. when sin came in and they decided to choose knowledge, they changed the nature and the innate DNA of man to not worship God, but to worship self. The reason why we have issues is because we worship ourselves so much that it becomes depression. So our self-worth is so ingrained in our DNA of self-worship that we have self-esteem issues, which leads to self-deprecation. That's why you have mental health issues. That's why there's so many problems. It's not just sin. Sin is a byproduct of a decision. So you don't sin just to sin. You literally sin as a consequence, unfortunately. So every decision you make has a consequence. The reason why they got kicked out of the garden and the reason why sin came in had nothing to do with just because of the devil. It wasn't the question, it was the decision to choose. So the reason why sin is because God kicked him out, he was just like, bro, if you want to read the Bible and take your theology super deep, he literally was just like, you know what, dang it, we didn't want to do this, but now since y'all done it, y'all done made this dumb decision, y'all got to get out here, y'all are naked, you now can see, now you're aware, knowledge, that's why. When God cursed them, it wasn't a real curse. It was literally, I cursed you as a punishment because you tied my hand. So now your depression is just because God's hands are tied. God cursed the land, God cursed, it was like labor, land, and women, sex, or whatever. So now you have to work the ground. You literally have to labor for the ground that you eat. You have to actually work to sustain. And women, when you go through labor, there's going to be pain. So now sex is cursed, the land is cursed, and now you have to work with your hands. That's literally the punishment and the byproduct. So the issues that you deal with in life aren't your fault, but because of mankind, it's a consequence for being alive until that day when God cracks the sky that we all been waiting and hoping for. When the true sons of God are shown, we all get our real bodies, we end up coming and just being with the Lord. That sounded way better than everything else I was gonna say. But that's what it is.
I'm gonna have J's on.
You're gonna have J's, they're gonna be the Jesus fives.
The Jesus walk.
No, yeah, the Jesus twirls. The walk on water twos. Shout out. But if you want to know someone else who had mental health issues in the Bible, it was Peter. If you want me to go deep on it. So Peter, Mr. Impulse, Peter acted off impulse, if you want to be super deep about it. He was the real like, rah, 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 Jesus, yeah. Go Jesus, go Jesus, go. That was Peter. Yeah, so that was Peter. Literally, he was the first one who was this, when Jesus asked like, who am I? He was like, you're the Messiah, you're the Son of God. Yeah. When he walked on water, he was like, man, y'all trash. I'm gonna go walk. He said I could do it, and then he was like, oh, just hold on, Lord. So the issue with Peter, when his mental health issues came, was actually before he denied Jesus. Let me say this. So when they were in the garden when Jesus went off to pray, Peter was sitting there. He was the one who was trying to stay awake because he took the three beloved with him, and Peter was sitting here like, man, he just told us to keep my eyes open. It's cold outside. Like, all right, man, I'm tired. Like, I mean, he praying. I get it, cuz. Yeah, right. So, like, think it from this perspective, right? Like, they're all sitting there. It's late at night. Jesus is about to get captured. He knows what's gonna happen. The other three don't. So they were like, he was like, bro, just watch my back, stay up with me, and pray with me. So Peter's like, all right, yes, Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, Lord, thy will be done. Hallowed be thy name. I don't know what's going on, but all right, bet. So then he falls asleep. Right after he falls asleep is when Jesus was like, y'all couldn't stay up for 10 more minutes, bro. Like, I ain't asked you to do a lot. I'm over here sweating blood, drenched in sweat and blood, and y'all don't even know what's going on, my boy. And Peter was like, well, dang, I messed up again. I just can't do nothing, right? And so then Peter, you know what I'm saying, had the blicky on him. Here's footsteps, you know what I'm saying? The Romans are coming to get him. And he was like, who that is? Jesus was like, bro, he was a little kid. Like, why is you doing this? Like, you know I told you what's about to happen. Like, they're about to get me. I'm going to get crucified for everybody. I don't know why you did this. Little boy's here to pick it up. Jesus-ly suture it on. You know what I'm saying? Hit him with the Jesus tape. He was like, man, my bad, my boy. My bad, my guy. So then think about it. So fast forward, Peter's already upset. Jesus told him, bro, you're going to deny me. Like, I know you say you love me, but you're going to deny me 3 times. Peter, he was like, no, I'm not. I love you, God. I love you, cuz. I got heart, kid. That's a baby boy reference. I don't know about that. They all do. We're old. So what happened is, so he denied him. Now, mind you, Peter saw it coming. And literally, he's just sitting there trying to get a look at Jesus after he got captured. They're beating him. He was just like, I can't believe they're doing that to Jesus. I should go up there and mob on them. There's a lot of them, though, and I ain't got the thing on me no more. He sat there and he was like, yo, somebody was like, hey, isn't that the dude that was like, you don't look like us. Ain't no way you're from Rome. You that Jew dude who was with the Jesus cat. He was like, who is Jesus? I don't even know, bro. Like, he was like, mind you, he's just trying to save himself, whatever. Self-awareness, because sin. And he was just like, man, whatever. All right, cool. So then, fast forward a little bit longer, the Romans are like, you look like one of those Jewish dudes. You sure you ain't with my mans over here? Like, we giving him the business. Like, ain't you want him? He was like, sir, do I look like I'm with him? No, I do not know him at all. Who is Jesus? What type of name is Jesus? I'm from Rome. Twice, right? This is exactly what happened. The third time, someone else is like, bro, nah, for real. I don't know why you playing. It's like a kid. I don't know why you playing. Ain't you with that Jesus guy? Like, the blasphemer? He was like, I can't believe you said that to me, little boy. Get out my face. 3 times, rooster crows. So then he has to run away guilty and legitimately. Now he's in his feelings but doesn't know, because I literally did what he said, but I gave up Jesus and didn't do anything. Like, the Messiah has to die now because of me. I could have went in his place. So think about all this time he has to wait in between Jesus getting arrested and then Jesus being risen and coming to see doubting Thomas, who didn't doubt. But that's the thing you have to think about. Your mental health issues and your thing, ain't no one not dealt with it. If it's been done with everyone in the Bible, you got to deal with it too. God bless your mental health issues. God bless everything that you deal with. God bless your circumstances, your situations, everything in your life, because they've already been preordained for everything that's going to be for your good. Amen?
Have you seen The Chosen?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They need to see it.
That's fire. Okay. I should probably show you that.
Also within all this, be careful when you open up yourself too. Because when you start doing all of this, you start idolizing different things. And once you start exposing yourself to things that are not from God, it will be easier for the enemy to come and attack you. And this will really just take you in a whole different path. And this is something that I feel like we've all dealt with, and that's something that I started struggling a lot with on like my teenager years and my young adult years, which is still in there. But my personal trouble is like with music. Sometimes I like to listen to super ratchet music and all this stuff, and sometimes it's not right because that goes into your subconscious. And then you start thinking all these different things, and to me that affects me a lot. So I know that I need to watch out from that. And then also like just think about like whenever you want to exercise, you want to lose weight and things like that, one thing that you really have to watch is your nutrition. How you eat, right? What you intake from your mouth into your body, because that's how it's gonna nourish your body. So from there, also think like that from your vision, from your hearing side. So everything that you hear, everything that you see is things that you're consuming into your body, into your spirit, into your mind, into your subconscious, into your brain. So all these things will definitely play a role into all the things that you have to battle with. And we will battle with things regardless, no matter what. But choosing what you allow to come into you will really minimize those problems, and you won't have to deal so much with them. So you focus in God, you focus in church, if you feed yourself with holy things, you will always be filled up. But if you're filling yourself with things of the world, with music that you're not supposed to be listening to, with things that you're not supposed to be watching, with people that you're not supposed to be around with, you're drowning yourself. And you're filling up yourself with all these negative things. And those negative things will lead to more negative consequences. So to minimize that, just be with God. And I feel like that's just, what you intake, that's what you're gonna have to digest. So do you want to digest something negative, or do you want to digest something positive? And that's
Dope.
That was
Clap it up. Okay. So this is part one. Next part is y'all asking us questions. We won't do it too long for that. But right now, what we're gonna do is Travis, and I think MJ, just cooked up some burgers and stuff for y'all. So we had to turn up. So we are going to bye. So we're gonna pray real quick over the food. We're gonna bless the food and let y'all take a break and go ahead and eat. All right. All heads bowed, all eyes closed. Lord, thank you for this great panel discussion. Shout out all y'all. I love y'all. Thank you for all these teens learning a little bit, getting a little bit of something from today. Lord, we bless this food. Let it be delicious, nutritious, healthy, and not disgusting. We trust Travis and MJ on the grill expertise. Shout out our grill masters. Let everyone eat, be full, be merry, and enjoy the rest of the night. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, y'all go eat or whatever. Listen, man.